Hello, Anna Napoli for the Finance News Network, and joining me from Aus Tin Mining is CEO Peter Williams. Peter, welcome back.
Thanks, Anna.
Last week you announced a funding package and resumption plan for Granville. Could you please run through the highlights?
Yeah, look, I'd be delighted to, but let me just first reiterate, back in September we undertook a strategic review of the asset, and one of the things we sought was to determine the most efficient means of extracting value for the asset, and I think this proposed package does precisely that. So firstly, it comprises a series of loans. They will be used to resume the operations. There's a second tranche available for exploration and expansion of the operation. And finally, there's a third tranche that will provide us with to meet the costs associated with an IPO. Now, the second element of the deal is that those loans, subject to certain conditions precedents being met, would convert into shares in 10 Star Mining, and that would occur at the same time as an in-specie distribution and demerger of those shares in conjunction with an IPO. So it's a little bit more complicated. Ultimately, what does it mean? It means that we're going to get funding to resume operations, which is really important at this juncture. It also reduces the requirement to raise capital at the ANW level. So at the moment, when our share price is low, and ultimately, should the IPO proceed, it's going to give Aus Tin Mining shareholders a direct interest in Granville, and their interest will be proportional to their respective holdings in Aus Tin Mining.
You also mentioned the plan for Granville to be a foundation asset in a proposed IPO. Could you perhaps expand on these plans?
The west coast of Tasmania is certainly one of the most sort of prospective geological areas in Australia, in fact. And I think if you look at some of the world-class mines that are there, there's the Mount Lyell copper gold mine, there's the Renison tin mine, Savage River magnetite mine, Rosebery base metal mine, and there's a host of other projects, for nickel, tungsten, gold, but to name a few. And I guess one thing that's a little bit surprising is that there hasn't been a Tasmanian-focused mining and exploration company on the ASX, and we'd like to change that. So the plan is that Granville would be the foundation asset, and we'd also look to incorporate into that some of the exploration area that we've applied for and is currently, we're awaiting grant, and we think that that'll be a fabulous springboard for a larger IPO.
Finally, Peter, there's been a modest improvement in the tin price recently. What's driving this?
Yes, there has been a modest improvement in the LME tin price. We've seen it increase from the low $16,000 to low $17,000. And I think that's mainly due to the arbitrage. We're seeing tin prices on the Shanghai exchange trade at a higher level than that, at around $20,000. So I think there's some upward pressure there. On the LME, stocks have remained relatively static. I think there are some good things coming with respect to tin. We're seeing hopefully the first steps of resolution between the China-US trade war, and that'll be good for tin. And hopefully with last weekend's election in the UK, we'll see some clarity around Brexit. And again, I think that'll be good for global demand for tin.
Peter Williams, thank you for the update.
Thanks, Anna.